Hello, students. We are going to start a new chapter of democratic politics first for class ninth civics or political science we can say. What is democracy? Why democracy? Okay, by the name of this chapter, by the title of this chapter, we can understand that in this chapter we will know about the democracy. That what is the democracy and why democracy is necessary for any country, why the democratic country is better than other form of the governments. Okay, we will know it firstly we need to know about the democracy. The democracy only not that to give the vote or kind of thing, but it is more than this. We have to discuss its benefits, and yes, there are some arguments against this also. So we will know about all those things. So let's get started. So as here overview they have given. Okay, so the first chapter has been deleted. This is actually, this is now it is first chapter, but really first chapter was deleted from according to CBSE guidelines. Okay, so now we are studying the chapter number second. So first, as they have mentioned here, what is democracy? Okay, so in chapter 1 they will give the mention of that chapter 1, that in that chapter we studied that how democracy formed and how democracy was accepted by the different countries in the world. Okay, so but the main problem with democracy is that many of countries are not habitual for this, and people are not ready to accept the democracy because they were from the thousands of years they were following monarchy, and now the dictatorship also there. So those peoples are not habitual for the democracy. So we need to understand this aspect also. As we can see here through these stories, the story in the past we studied about study the story of Chile, Poland and Ghana. Okay, so by reading those stories, uh, we called some of these democracy, other were described as non-democratic. So which are democratic and which is not, which is non-democratic, we will study about it. So they will they ask here that only two type of country, they and after they the basic this analysis they wrote two type of governments: democratic governments and non-democratic government. Democratic, it means which are democratic, yeah? And other form of the government or the monarchy or dictatorship or kind of thing, so these are non-democratic government. So now we will understand here why define democracy. Why the, okay, when we are not defining monarchy or dictatorship, so why we are going to define democracy? So democracy, it means the many of countries are misusing the name of democracy. We all know our neighbor country China. Okay, they call themselves democratic, but they are not. Only one party system is there, one party is there, they contest the election and they win. So only one party contests the election and they win. So how can we say this is the democracy? Sometime our other neighbor also, like Pakistan also, so dictatorship was there from 1919 to 2007 or 8. Okay, so that time they conducted the election, but the forgery were there in those elections. How can we say them, we can say, how can we say that democratic? So many things are there, so that's why we need to define this democracy theme. Okay, so before we proceed further, let us first take a note of objection by the Mary. Okay, here now we are going to understand this whole discussion through about democracy through a discussion which is being going on between teacher and a few students. uh, okay, here the Mary has some objections for democracy. As her teacher Matilda Lingdo responded to her questions as classmates joined the discussion, Mary says, Ma'am, I don't like this idea. Which idea? The democratic idea. First, we spend one whole chapter discussing democracies in the different part of the world. Then, we want to find out the meaning of democracy. I mean, logically, should not have that approach. It that it the other way around. Okay, shouldn't the meaning have come first and then the example? She was saying same thing, which comes in our mind also. By firstly, we need to know the meaning of democracy. Then we study about democracy. They have given first chapter and they are telling about the democracy in this country, in that country, and now they are in second chapter. They are discussing about the meaning of democracy. Why? So, ma'am says, their teacher says, I can see your point, but is not how we reason in everyday life. We use word like pen, rain, or love. Do we wait to have a definition of these words before we use them? The great idea of ma'am here. So it means we use many things. Okay, we irritate someone. So do we have the definition of irritating? So no. So the same thing. Okay, if we love our parents, if we love, uh, so we don't see the definition first. What is the definition of it? Then we will follow these things. Okay. So she says same thing. So do we wait to have the okay? Come to think of it, do we have clear definition of these words? It is only by using a word that we understand this meaning. Mary. And now Mary says, but then why do we need definition at all? When we are using these things, why we need definitions? Madam Lingdo says, we need a definition only when we come across a difficulty in use of a word. We need to define. We need a definition of rain only when we wish to distinguish it from, say, drizzle or cloudburst. The same is true for democracy. We need to clear definition only because people use it for different purpose. As I told, many non-democratic countries use democracy word for them. It means no, we are democratic. No, they are not democratic, but they pretend to be democrat. Okay, so that's why we need to clear this because very different kind of governments call themselves democracy. Okay, Riveng says here, but why do we need to work on the definition? The other day you quoted Abraham Lincoln, and Abraham Lincoln to us, democracy is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We in Meghalaya always ruled ourselves. That is accepted by everyone. Who do we need to change that? Okay, so he said, okay, you told us na about the democratic, the meaning of democracy or the definition of democracy. So Madam Lingdo says, I'm not saying that we need to change it, but to find this definition very beautiful. But we don't know if this is the best way of defining unless we think about ourselves. We must not accept something just because it is famous, just because everyone accept it. Okay. So Yolanda says now, ma'am, can I suggest something? We don't need to look for any definition. I read somewhere that the word democracy comes from the Greek word. Now they are giving the word definition of this. I have heard somewhere the Greek word was there, demokratia. Demokratia, it means in Greek language, demos. Demos, it means the people. Kratia, it means rule. It means the rule of people. So the democracy is ruled by the people. This is the correct meaning. Where is the need to debate? Madam Lingdo says that is also a very helpful way of thinking more. Okay, thinking about this matter, I would just say that this does not always work. A word does not remain tied to its origin. Just think of a computer. Originally, they were used to computing. She has given very good example. We cannot stay with the meaning of the word as she has given the example of computer. Computer, it means that was meaning for the calculating only, but nowadays computer is doing so many works, not only computing or not only calculating the things. So she said that we need to know and we need to discuss about it. Mary says, ma'am, so basically what are you saying is that there is no shortcut of our thinking about the matter ourselves. We need to think about its meaning and evolve a definition. Ma'am says, you got me right. Let us get on with it now. Okay, now we will know about a simple definition of democracy. Let us get back to our discussion on similarities and differences among governments that are called democracies. In the previous chapter, we identify one simple factor common to all democracies, that the government is chosen by the people. So we could thus start with the simple definition. You need to understand this one. Very simple definition is democracy is the form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. Okay, democracy is the form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. We can little modify this. The democracy is the form of government in which the people have the right to choose their leaders. By democracy is a form of government in which the people have the right to choose their leaders. Okay, so we need to understand this. So you can write this and learn. This is a useful starting point. This definition allows us to separate democracy from form of governments that are clearly not democratic. The army rules of Myanmar are not elected by the people, those who happen to be in control of the army. So they have given the example of Myanmar army. In Myanmar, the army rule is there. So they are saying that they are not chosen by the people. That's why they are not democratic. Okay, because they become the ruler of the country, people have no say in the discussion. Dictator like Pinochet are not elected by the people. This also applies to monarchies. The king of Nepal and Saudi Arabia, rule not because the people have chosen them, but do so because they happen to be born into the royal family. By nowadays, this time, many monarchical government are going on. So they are in the power because they have taken birth in the royal family or in the king family. So that's why they are ruling nowadays. But in the democracies, anyone can become the leader and can become the most important person of the country also. Okay, the simple definition is not acquired. The it reminds us that democracy is the people's rule. But if we use this definition in an unthinking manner, we would end up calling almost every government that holds an election a democracy. So, by it means the rulers are elected by the people. So, if any government is made there uh, with with the voting power, but they have done malpractices, they have done cheating in elections, so that kind of government can be said as the democratic government. No. So for this they are going to do here a kind of discussion. So we will know that which kind of country is called democracy. As we can see here in this cartoon, very interesting cartoon is there. The democracy, the flag of democracy is being hosted by the army. Okay, the army people, they rule on the people by the help of gun, by the help of power, and they call themselves democratic in the world. So that is not a right thing, as we know. So, we are going to know about the features of democracy. We have started with a simple definition. Again, we will repeat this. Democracy is the form of government in which the rulers are elected by the people. So, here we need to raise many questions. First, who are the rulers in this definition? By who are those? Which official must be elected by the any government to be called a democracy? Which decision may be taken by the non elected official in the democracy? Official are having two type in our country or in the democratic country. First, which are chosen by the people. Secondly, which are chosen by the government. Okay, so who are the rulers? First, we will know this. Then, what kind of election constitute by the elected by the people, na? So, what kind of election constitute a democratic election? By which kind of election we want? Okay, so we want a free and a fair election. It means no cheating should be there. We will discuss about election also. Who are the people? Who are the first the who are the rulers, and then what is the election process, and now who are the people who can elect the government? By who are the people? Like, can any 10th class student give the vote and can choose their leaders? No. So some eligibilities are there also, who are eligible to vote and who are not. Finally, what kind of a form of government is democracy? So we will know about these four questions here. So by who are the rulers, which kind of election process should be there, who are the people who will choose the leaders, and which kind of form this democracy is. By what is the difference between the democracy and monarchy and other governments? So we will do this. So we will take the first and other parts of it. We will discuss about the different features of this chapter. Okay, so but in the next part of it. So till then, study this. If any question is there, you can ask me. Thank you.